السلام علیکم بینندگان عزیز. امیدوار هستم که در هر نقطه دنیا باشین خوش و آرام باشین. خوش آمدین امروز در برنامه ما در صدای حق تلویزیون. امروز میمان ما منصور جان سخی هستن از طرف Muslim Aid USA. Good afternoon to all of our viewers. Today we have Mansoor Jan Sakhiy on the show with us from Muslim Aid USA. We are going to be talking about not-for-profit work and the importance of it. A lot of the time we get on the show and we talk about different professions and job seeking. And I think it's really important to start talking about some of these really important and essential positions that are out there with not-for-profits. We have the honor again of having Mansoor Jan here. He is the executive director of Muslim Aid USA. He is a certified fundraising and marketing executive who holds more than 14 years of experience and whose campaign leadership has generated millions of dollars in revenue. His results-driven strategies and creative conceptualization have led to success for fast-paced companies in both the corporate and humanitarian spheres. Mansoor Jan has inspired and implemented comprehensive, cost-effective campaigns for direct marketing, traffic generation, revenue growth, and much more. He's definitely a leader, mashallah, and a team player who thrives in highly productive and engaging company cultures. Absolutely an asset to any organization he is a part of. Bazam Mansoor Jan, خوش آمدین و متاسفانه که بایوگرافیتان داری ترجمه نتونستیم که بکنیم، اما اگر شما بتونین که یک کم ذره درباره خود گپ بزنین. If you could, Mansoor Jan, tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Assalamu alaikum, Farishta Jan. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this discussion. My name, as you mentioned, is Mansoor Sakhiy. I'm originally from Kabul, Afghanistan. We are of the Achikzai tribe, and my family and I came to the U.S. First time in 1986, and then we finally came back in 1988. So I grew up in Los Angeles, went to school in the Valley, and attended university there as well. And it's been about 8 years that I've been living near Washington, D.C. Because of the nonprofit work and the things I was doing. I had to move here, but essentially I'm a California person at heart. So Afghan and then California. So that's my story.
Great, thank you. Yeah, sure. If you wanna tell us in Dari too, that would be great.
I'll try. It's okay. Been a very long time since I've spoken Dari.
That's okay.
از کابل هستیم. فامیل ما در 1988 اینجا آمدیم در لس آنجلس. همگی فامیل ما اموجه هستن. ما یک 8 سال پیش در واشنگتن دی سی موو کردم از خاطر وظیفه‌ام.
بسیار عالی. So Mansoor Jan, I've been personally dealing with this my entire scope and spectrum of careers that I've had. I started in education, and then I was originally a pre-law student. I did corporate work. I've done education, many different sectors of both for-profit and not-profit. And here I am, midlife, and I feel the most comfortable in my skin doing not-for-profit work. And I feel that this is really my niche. And I feel this connection with you as well, that a lot of the work that you've been doing, especially the humanitarian aid, is a very essential job. And before we actually get into the specifics of humanitarian work, I want to talk a little bit about structure. I think that if you could tell us a little bit about what you do and what the structure of a not for profit humanitarian aid organization consists of. Because I think what ends up happening is there's so many misconceptions that are out there about where quote unquote money goes and how is money spent. And I know we could probably do an entire series on just infrastructure and how things are laid out, but maybe just a brief synopsis. بعضا منصور جان پیش از اینکه ما در سوالای خود شروع کنیم بسیار مهم است که ما بفهمیم که یک بنیه خیر چی رقم یا خیرات چی رقم اصلا سیستمش کار میگیره. برای که زنده باشن افغانای ما همیشه که وقتی که یک جای پیسه میدن یا دونیشن میدن با سوال برشان پیدا میشه که پیسه کجا میره، به چی استفاده میشه. اگر میتونستین برای ما حوال بگوین که یک not for profit چی رقم یک ارگانش چی رقم درست میشه و دیش چی وجود داره.
Yes, definitely. So there's a lot that happens in the background when a charity is established. There's governing laws within the United States and also internationally. So, for example, you have to be registered in every state in order for you to fundraise, right? So the registration process takes a while. You have to have a board of governance, and then on the operational side as well, you have to have proper management, layered management, and checks and balances. And also charity work itself, there's a lot of due diligence that happens, right? So you have to check on the projects, you have to do M&E, this monitor and evaluation, and there's a lot of things that a charity needs to do. It's really nice. I see people like they raise some money and then they go and they hand stuff out of a truck, but we don't operate that way. An international NGO does not operate that way. There's a lot of governing relationships that need to happen. There's need to be coordination. You have to, when you provide the aid, that has to be done with dignity, and all of that costs money. Like sometimes people ask, like, do you pay yourself? Yes, we do. I don't think that charity workers need to be charity cases themselves. They need to be taken care of. Even Islamically, it's been mentioned, a person that deals with the zakat, you should never make them feel like the need for money. So you're not tempting them to take the zakat. So like it's clearly there that there's admin with charity, and if you want a well-established, organized charity to run right, you want them to pay their staff. It cannot be 100% volunteer based. So there's a lot of things like state registrations, there's bylaws, there's board of trustees, there's it's very layered. So همیشه که یک چریتی استابلیش میشه در امریکا، اونا باید رجیستر باشن. همه استیتس امریکا باید کوپوریشن باشن، باید بورد اف ترستی داشته باشن. هر سال اونا باید آدیت شون. So کار اینترنشنالی که میکنن رولز باشه که اونا باید چریتی که میتن کوشش کنن که مردم با احترام بتن. That's about apologies for my Farsi. It's I'm
No,
really
it's great.
the words, so
No, but like فهمیدم. یعنی منصور جان هدف دان است که مثلا طور مثال یک کسی برای یک غریب کمک میکنه یا یک کسی که نداره، ضرور نیست که اون نفر کم بیاره یا اون نفر نشان بده که خودت غریب هستی. یگان دفعه من سعی میکنم در تلویزیون میبینم که like ترکاست میایه باز like یا از بالا هلیکوپترز که پایان مندازه خطای برنج or like some really provocative images and videos that I've seen where there's a helicopter or there's a drone or there's a truck where people are standing in these lines and they're getting food basically thrown at them. ای برای یک انسان خیلی یک تاثیر منفی داره و سر اعصاب یک انسان. هر انسان الحمدلله مسلمان هستیم، هر انسان ارزش داره و هر انسان لیاقت زیر داره که مثل یک انسان واره امرویش یک انسان پرهزش واره امرویش رویه شوه. So I mean humans are of worth, and of course Islamically first and foremost we should be dealing with, because we, if you know, I think the pandemic has taught us that at any moment we could be one of those people.
Yeah.
It's not so it's not anything that we haven't seen in the last. People who have been very affluent, people who have been doing very well, have all of a sudden finding themselves struggling. I know here, Mansoor John, locally, you know, I didn't even know where a lot of the food pantries were in the town in which I live in. And now on the weekends, when you drive by, you will see lines wrapped around the blocks where you will see Americans standing in line to get into a food pantry to grab some cans of food to survive. در امریکا من هیچ وقت توی یک حالت ندیده بودم، مخصوصا شنبه که در منطقه که زندگی میکنم یگان دفعه که پشت سودا میرم میبینم که جایی که هیچ من نمیفهمیدم، مثلا کلیسا اتر لاین از دراز لاین هستن، مردم استاد هستن معطل از این که اگه کدام غذا برشان آماده باشه. So thank you so much for pointing out the self-worth and the self-value. And I know we're going to get into some detail about that. But before we do that, something that's really cool about your organization and that I really admire and honor is that, and I know that there are other organizations as well out there who do this, but can you tell me a little bit about how, why the word Muslim is in your title, and how is it that, are you an Islamically based organization, and how does that kind of come into play?
Yeah, so we are a faith-based organization. We are driven by the surah that says, if you are to help one person, it is as if you help the whole of humanity. And our tagline is serving humanity. But what we try to do is be an example and show our worth by our work, not try to preach or spread Islam. That's not our mission. Our mission is just to provide aid without any conditions to whoever needs it, and to simply just serve humanity. But yes, we are a faith-based organization. We are inspired by the Quran, and we are driven by the actions of the Prophet ﷺ. So
Awesome.
everything that we do is we try to do it with barakah, and we try to do it within dignity, keeping in mind that we do represent the folks who are of Islamic faith. Should I do it in Farsi now, or?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Muslim Aid organization است که با driven with Islamic values. Islam core هر کاری که میکنیم ما و core value ما از اسلام است. charity ما هست که faith based organization. That's about it. فارسی.
Right. No, نه با حتما یعنی منصور جان هدفتان حتما است که نام چریتیتان مسلم اید است و کدام شرم خدای نخواسته کدام چیز ندارین، با سربلندی و سرفرازی میگین که ما الحمدلله مسلمان هستیم و ما نمیخواهیم که مثلا شما، یعنی میگین که نمیخواهیم که شما تبلیغ نمیکنین، تبلیغی نیستین، تبلیغی نیسته که شما برین شهر به شهر یا مملکت به مملکت بگوین بیاین شما مسلمان شوین. And a lot of faith-based organizations do that. They do that. They use the mission of fundraising and giving donations as a means of conversion. اما مسلمین این هدف نداره که ما شما را کمک کردیم و برای اینکه بسیاری مملکتایی که مسلمان نیستن مسلمین کمک میکنن و برای این نمیکنن که شما بیایید مسلمان شوین، برای این میکنین که ما الحمدلله مسلمان هستیم و ما کمک میکنیم هر رقم انسانی که در دنیا باشه، چی که مسلمان باشه، چی که عیسوی باشه، چی که یهود باشه، فرق نمیکنه، مقصد کمک میکنیم. So that's a really, really important point because a lot of faith-based organizations do get caught up in missionary and quote unquote pushing their own political and theological agendas.
Yes.
So I really take pride and knowing that this is not one of those organizations. So it's important to point that out. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with being proud of who you are and saying, yeah, Muslims are the ones who are doing this. So that's great. On that, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add one thing, but
Sure.
even being a very proud Muslim charity, we also thrive to be a diverse charity, meaning that even when our board of trustee, one of the things that we frown upon is that we don't allow any political affiliations of our board members or staff. And also we try to hire gender diversity, religious diversity, and even ethnically diverse board. So Alhamdulillah, we've been able to do that. We have one of the most diverse board members within the Muslim sector charity. So we're really proud of that. And we're proud Islamic identities ingrained in our bylaws, but also we want to be a diverse charity.
Absolutely, absolutely. و تمام ارگان مسلم اید یو اس ای که هسته و نفرایی که برای مسلم اید کار میکنه از هر کشور هستن، از هر دین هستن، از هر مذهب هستن. So این بسیار مهم چیز هسته. So what are some challenges that you feel that you face in your line of work, Mansoor Jan? Some
So
challenges.
mainly the challenges are that you feel like it's not enough. I always speak about this. It's a picture that haunts me. Is I have been to the Rohingya when the exodus was happening with the ethnic cleansing through borderline with Burma. And one of my colleagues from UK is on caught on a video. He was crying and he was saying that these people come with stories of rape, gunshot killing, and I'm standing here with a bag of rice, uh, trying to feel better about myself, and I feel so helpless. So the challenges are sometimes you feel like you're not doing enough, but that's actually not accurate because whatever you do, it helps. In Obviously the financial um, dealing with the vast majority of inquiries that come in, and you have to say no to some, is very difficult because you want to say yes to everyone and everything. So it's I wouldn't say they're challenges, but they're definitely things that keep you awake at night. So um, but overall, the sector have thrived. Alhamdulillah, the people are so generous that even during COVID-19, most of the charities have seen a rise in their fundraising and income. But also the needs have been greater. So it's a balance. Unfortunately, it's good in one way, but it's very bad in another way because the need and the poverty level is growing very vastly.
So, you brought up some really important points. چندین چیزی را که منصور جان امیالا یاد کردم بسیار مهم بود. از پیشان پرسیدیم که چی چالش ها دارن و چی مشکلات ها دارن و قصه از این کردن که یک آقایی که کار میکنه برای منصور جان در روهنگا بود و این مملکت است که در سرد برما است و در اونجا بسیار ظلم سر مسلمان ها. در اونجا که رفته بود گفت که او یک بوجی برنج دستش بود و گریه میکرد و از پیششان که پرسیدن که چرا گریه میکنی اونا گفتن که من اینجا استاد هستم امرای یک بوجی برنج اما این خانم برای من قصه میکنه که من به حق من تعجز شده به حق من ظلم شده چی رقمی برنج میتونه که این نفر کمک کنه و مهم است که هر انسان بفهمه که هر کمکی که میکنی بعضم زندگی یک کسی را بهتر میسازه اگه کوچک هم باشه بعضم از هیچ کده خوب است و یک چیز دیگه بسیار مهم که شما گفتین که یک مشکلات است که زودتر برای کی برسیم و امو انتخاب که میکنیم که کی را کمک کنیم و کی را بسیاری وقت میشه که یک کسی میگه ما کمک کردیم و شما نمیتونیم برای از که هر اگه امکاناتش اصلا نیست و در وقت کووید فضل خدا که هر کس پیسه میتن و کمک میکنن همه بعضم اونمو قدر ضرورت هم زیاد شده بله و هر کس زیاد کار دارن و از اونمو خاطر و منصور جا گفت که بسیاری شواست که خوابش نمیبره ولی دیگه دمی فکر چرت از این هسته. از نگاه روانی من بر شما تشویق میکنم که زیاد کوشش کنین که حتما کار بسیار مهم میکنین and I also encourage myself of this که بس سر از یوم که شما زیاد زحمت میکشین و شب خوابتان نمیبره بعضا باید در پالوش پشت خود بگردین و کوشش کنین که خدا کم واره detach کنین. Detachment is really important when it comes to not-for-profit work. I speak first and foremost because this is also what I do for a living in a different capacity. I do deal with a lot of mental health issues, and that could be very tolling on a human
Yeah.
being. And it's, you know, especially as a parent, especially as first and foremost as a Muslim and a human and a parent, it's hard and you take it home with you. But try hard to detach yourself and do a lot of self-care. It's really, really important to be able to do that so that you can keep doing the important work and not have what we call, you know, burnouts. خب به هر صورت, moving on. So I know this because I've spent several years fundraising. One of the biggest challenges that I had was I would have this gala or this get together, this fundraiser, and then all of a sudden I would get the question of, oh well, I want to pay a donation, but I don't want to cover your overhead
Yeah.
cost.
No.
It's my favorite. It was my favorite.
افغانای محترم ما زیاد از یاد هستن unfortunately.
زنده باشن کل افغانانه
نه
یگانشان
خدا افغانان.
یگانشان یک مشکلات داریم که وقتی که پیسه میدیم برای یک چریتی باز میگن او این ارگانیزیشن خدا فیصد اوورهد میگیره ما نمیخوایم که پیسه مصرفشانه بدم. So من میخواستم که از پیش شما بپرسم you're the expert بر ما بگو که اوورهد کاست چی هسته و چرا یک چریتی باید او را چارج کنه.
Yeah, so essentially overhead cost is the cost of running the operation, what it costs to have a successful charity that will do great work. I think donors should kind of understand that if they want their donation, the charity, to be the proper vessel that will make sure and ensure that their money is invested as they require it, that there needs to be an admin. So admin cost is a percentage that charities take off of the donation to ensure that they have proper capacity, employees, and staff. So the way admin breaks down is there's a program admin and there's indirect admin. Indirect admin would be like salaries and healthcare and anything associated with that cost. And then there's fundraising admin, right? So like a charity, for example, like let's say a big international charity like CARE International, right? So their admin is 18%, but the way they break it up is it's 8% administrative, and then it's the rest of it is fundraising and something else. So they break it down into bubbles of how they do it, but essentially they ensure that 81% goes to programs. For Muslim Aid, for example, our admin is admin gets very tricky. So there's different variation of how admin works. We could very easily say that our admin is 7%, but that is not an accurate picture of how things work. So if you calculate the admin off of the cash value, so for example, Muslim Aid USA's admin is 12%. So the 12% admin goes to ensure that the staff are getting a salary, that we do our fundraising needs, that we're able to do marketing, and we're able to pay rent. So everything that goes on how you run a charity. And then there's a programmatic. Programmatic is everything that goes towards the program. So that side does have a little bit of admin, which is basically there's people that run the program within the local community, and also what goes to the end user. So that's essentially admin, and admin is very crucial. I think it's a misconception by the donors that they feel like they shouldn't pay admin. It's false when people say 100% charity. Yes, it is. There are charities that are ran by volunteers, and they do great work, but I've also been on the end where I've seen the result of those work. I've seen the people that claim to have 100% charity, and they go and there's lack of empathy and sympathy. Not all of them. Of course, there's amazing ones. If that's what people want, they can seek it out. But I've been to the as I mentioned, and the most issues that I saw was the exodus during in Bangladesh of the Rohingya was that there was trucks coming, people were running towards the truck because these people are starving. You got to imagine they've been walking for days. They're looking for food, and the trucks will come. So they're rushing the trucks. They would take out sticks and they're hitting these people. So these people already been shot at. They've been chased. They've been degraded to a point where they feel worthless, and then they're looking at this charity and they're coming with these sticks and they're hitting them. So you run into things like that. And also one of the other things that I saw was that there was clothes littered everywhere. And we initially when I got on the camera, I was saying that I was like, wow, these people are so happy that they came here, and they must have like thrown their belongings everywhere. But that wasn't the case, because when we watched these trucks after the beating, when they grabbed the bag and they opened the bag, it was clothing. These people were looking for food. And it wasn't just clothing. Like if you know the Rohingya, they wear lungis and things like that. These were jeans and t-shirts, stuff that they would never wear. So they would go through it, maybe get a socks or two, and then throw the rest away. So a lot of the times, that yes, you want to pay zero, you want 100% to get there, but if it's not done right, and there's no follow-up, and there's no strategy on how you want to execute that, usually you're devaluing that money you're giving anyway. So, but again, it's an option, it's a choice, people offer it. We would never be a 100% charity, because that would not be honest, and it will not serve the people that we're serving, which is the beneficiaries and our donors.
منصور جان بسیار چیزای مهم گفت و من یادداشت کردم که براتون بگویم. اول از این خو
So you're giving up on my Farsi then, huh?
No.
You're doing a better job of translating than
No,
me.
no. Go ahead, please. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no. I wouldn't be able to say all that anyway.
Okay, all good, all good. Thank you so much for trying. Thank you. So, مسعود جان میگن که از امو 100% مثلا طور مثال $100 میتم، right? $100 دونیشن میتم. $100 کل $100 که من میتم مثلا 12%ش برای ادمین کاست میره. این حالا به معنای ازی که هیچ امکان نداره که یک ارگان بتونه که کار خود پیش ببره بدون چندین چیز. اول ازی خب پروگرام ساختن است. دوم ازی ماش است. چندین نفر بر مسلمان کار میکنه و بسیار کار اساس است، کار دقیق است. هر کاری که ما شما بکنیم، حتی مولای مسجد یک ماش میگیره، آیت میگیره، از خاطر که امام یا مولای مسجد یک وظیفه را نماز میده، مسجد پیش میبره، پروگرام ها را پیش میبره، اونا یک ماش میگیرن، یک ماش تعیین میکنن و مجبور هستن که فامیل خود از اونمو نان بدن و زندگی بکنن. شما باید امیر درک کنین. Really think about this. درک کنین وام که کار میکنن برای یک جای یک وظیفه است، مثل هر وظیفه دیگه. باید فامیل خود حمایت کنن، باید کرای خود بدن، مورگیج خود بدن. همچنان هر دفتر که چریتی می باشه کرا داره از خود، باید کرای خود بدن ماهانه، باید بل برق داره، بل گاز داره دیگه، و همچنان مارکتینگ داره. شما فکر کنین که میخواین که افغانستان کمک کنین، زمستان است، چقدر باید فلایر روی شود، چقدر باید آنلاین باید برای مارکتینگ آدم پیسه بده که مارکتینگ خود بوست کنه و پیش ببره. کل از این پیسه است و اگر یک کسی براتون بگوید که 100% پیسه تان میره در اون جای، این غلط است و حقیقت نیست. و مسلمین میگن که ما دروغ نمیگیم، حقیقت میگیم که این قدر فیصد پیسه ما در اینی مصرف ها میره. و یک قصه بسیار جالب کرد منصور جان که خیلی متاثر شدم که بعضم دمو کشور دمو جایی که بنگلادش بودن منصور جان و امی مردم روهینگا که بود، گفتن که معطل غذا بودن، باز یک ترک واز میشه و غذا پایان میشه و این نفرایی که این چریتی رو پیش می بردن امروی چوباس داد بودن. یک طرف خود از این مردم PTSD دارن، هزار رقم تکلیف دارن، هزار رقم ظلم دیدن. از این طرف معطل یک لقمه نان هستن و از این سوی نفرایی که صحیح ترین کردگی نیستن چوبا در دستشان هست و بیچاره پیش میشن که نان بگیرن، از خاطر که در اوجا دیگه مجبوری است، دیگه نمیشه که کلی دیگه لاین start شوه، پس و پیش میشن، گشنستن و واقع چوب لط خورده میرن. از این سو یک ظلمی که کشور دولت میده، از این سو ظلم نفره که نان دادانشان میده هم واره میزنن و به هزار رقم ظلم او رو برشان میرسانن. آخرین چیزی که منصور جان گفت از خاطر کالاسته. لطفاً من در هر جای دفتر که کار کردیم که برای ریسلمنت بود یا برای چی، لطفاً برای ما تکست میای هر روز کالای کنه داریم، لطفاً کالای کنه خود دونیشن بتین برای سالویشن آرمی و یک جایی که لوکلی در خود امریکا باشه. لطفاً برای از این مملکت های اینترنشنال نتین، برای کشورهای از امریکا بیرون نتین. چرا؟ از خاطر که یک خلطه کلان برشان داده میشه، او رو واز میکنن، چی رقم یک آدمی که در روهنگ است و لنگ بسته میکنن یا مثلا کالای خاص مملکت خود دارن و پتون کوبای چی کنن و کالای امریکایی رو چی کنن، او به دردشان نمیخوره. از او که پیسه به دردشان میخوره که بتونن یک غذایی بگیرن که ضرورت دارن یا لباس کار داشته باشن که از کشورشان است و از فرهنگشان است. این بسیار کار غلط است. من خوش ندارم. اتلیست هفته 3 دفعه برای من تکست میاد که من یک خلطه کالا دارم. باز من ایران میمونم که این آدم چی بگویم. خوش داریم از خاطر میفهمی چرا؟ Because it's really easy. It's the easy and convenient for us to take a bag, fill it up with clothes that we already have and we're just looking to get rid of. Try to step out of this mentality. Charity is more than that. Charity is not supposed to inconvenience, it's not supposed to convenience you in order to that it's not about you. You have to look outside of yourself. And the problem with our community is that we think that by giving charity in this manner that we're helping people, but really we're not. We're just wasting a lot of time and a lot of resources essentially.
Absolutely, Frishta John. And if I could just add one more thing to that
Sure.
point, that's a very sore point for me because I see it like in Afghan groups and things like that on Facebook. And it's not just the Afghan problem, it's everywhere. When you send a t-shirt over the mail, like this t-shirt that I'm wearing, for example, it costs $4 just to mail this, right?
Right.
When you get the containers of these used clothing, it costs money to ship that to Afghanistan or wherever you want to ship it. It's not free.
Sure.
Where you could buy those same clothes, let's say $7,000 to get a container over there, right? You could buy it. When you buy it locally, you're supporting the vendor, you're supporting the local economy, and also you're giving people new clothing. You're not giving them used clothes. I do recall in Afghanistan, there was the Lilami, right? Lilami had like used clothes that were vendors, they were selling it. So now when you're taking and you're flooding the market with this Lilami clothes, first of all, half of it will get like stolen or like resold. So you're competing with even the Lilami, and also there's business people that you could buy clothes from. So there's a lot of issues with that. We send millions of dollars worth of containers to Afghanistan and other places, but it's not used clothes. It's on the request of the health minister, it's medical shipments, and we ensure that it's not competing with the economy. For example, we recently in Afghanistan, we sent containers of nutritional rice bags, and we made sure that it goes directly to the IAD camps in Kabul, that does not get out to compete with the economy. But that was on behalf of or request of and coordination with the Afghan government. So we have to be mindful of those things.
That's really, really, really important. Thank you so much for bringing that up. بسیار چیز مهم منصور جان میگه که یعنی وقتی که کالا را چقدر $7,000 میتی که یک کانتین بگیری پر کنی از کالای کنه و وقت افغانستان لیلامی داریم So امو بیچاره که لیلامی را پیش میبرد افغانستان، ماش از او را از پیشش میگیری، نیم از او کالا گم میشه، نیمش دوزی میشه، در دست کس هم نمیرسه بیازو. باز بعد از اون اقتصاد افغانستان کمک نمیکنی. وقتی که امروی حکومت و دولت یکی میشی میگی که خب باش خیلی ما این قدر پیسه روی میکنیم، اینی تکفروشی را پیسه میدیم، اینمی کالا را میسازه، باز میده بر مردم. It has a dual benefit. It benefits the economy, and it also, it's kind of like what's going on right now during COVID, even locally. I find like we always say, like, if we're going to order out, right, we make it a point to order out once a week. Why? Because we want to contribute to the economy. We want to contribute to our local mom and pop stores that are slowly but surely closing down. همچنان در شهری که زندگی میکنیم، چون کووید است، کل بزنس های ما بسیار ضعیف شده و میخوایم هفته یک دفعه اقلا پیسه خود بدیم، از بیرون نان بخوایم، از هتلایی که میشناسیم و نمیخوایم که بسته شوند. It's the same concept. So thank you for discussing that really, really important thing. So you talked about your t-shirt. We were talking about really heavy things, so we got to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So Mansoor John is rocking this Muslim Aid USA t-shirt, and he's going to tell you about how you can get a t-shirt, right? Our audience can get a t-shirt?
Yes, absolutely. They could.
Okay. How can they do that?
So I think they need to email you, and all they need to do is just send their email address and their mailing address, and we'll mail it to them. But it has to be within the United States, unfortunately.
Okay, got it. So can
t-shirts. I wear them all.
So can we do we have an email address that I could put into the chat box in the comments during the show?
Yeah, so if they're emailing us directly, all they have to do is just email info at mausa.org, info@mausa.org, and they just need to provide us with their email and full mailing address and name, and inshallah we'll mail that to them right away.
So name, email, and address. Okay, great. یک چیز منصور جان تشکر. خیر ببینین یک توفه میده برای بینندگان ما که در امریکا هستن و صرف معذرت میخوایم تنها برای رزیدنت های امریکا است، چون شعبهشان در ویرجینیا است و تنها میتونن که داخل امریکایی رو رای کنن. اگر شما این تیشرت که منصور جان در جانشان است میخواین، یک توفه میتیم برای بینندگان ما. فقط در چت باکس ایمیل نوشته کردیم که info@mausa.org است. در اونجا میتونین که یک ایمیل رای کنین، فقط نامتان نوشته کنین، ایمیلتان و آدرس خانه‌تان و یک دانه تیشرت و سایز خوب است که سایز جانتان باز منصور جان یکی در پشت خانه‌تان براتون یک توفه رای میکنه امروز. So thank you so much for doing that. The information is now in the chat box. There's also a phone number at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to call that number if you have any questions. And also, obviously, what if, Mansoor John, what if people are watching this and they're interested in donating? Is there, where can they go to do that?
So it's very simple. All they have to do is just go to mausa.org.
Okay.
So if they go to mausa.org, they could just look up our projects, and it's a very simple way to donate. And just for those that think like maybe a t-shirt is not proper use of donations, they could always make a donation of $10 or more. It'll cover the cost of the t-shirt if they feel bad. So, but it's our part of the marketing and its branding. So that's serve a purpose for a charity.
Exactly. شاید بگوین که چرا برای ما پیران رای میکنین؟ یا یک اعلانات است. یک اعلانات مسلم اید یو اس ای است. هر دفعه که رو بپوشین هر کس میبینه میپرسه که این کدام ارگان است، چی رقم میتونیم کمک کنیم. منصور جان، پیش از اینکه ختم کنیم برنامه خود، میتونیم که شما یک قصه، چون خود ما الحمدلله افغان هستیم، یک قصه افغانستان برای ما میکنیم که در وقتی که شما چندین دفعه افغانستان رفتید، یک قصه را اگه میخواستین. If you wanted to, I know we spoke about this earlier, sharing a story about some of your work in Afghanistan or highlighting something that you experienced.
Yes, absolutely. So when I grew up in Kabul, like all I knew was Kabul. Like I did recall like my parents talking about like Jalalabad and Bamyan and all these places. But unfortunately, I left Afghanistan at a young age, so I never got to go I never got to see those, but Alhamdulillah, I was lucky enough to visit Afghanistan through charity, and I went to various provinces. I went to Jalalabad, I went to Bamyan. Like for example, one of the things, there's people that used to live in caves within Bamyan, and one of the thing that they feared the most was the Khandal. Like Khandal would come down at night. One of the people that we had to interview was actually he got bit by Khandal and unfortunately passed away. So in Afghanistan, there's a lot of poverty, and but what's alarming is, for example, like during COVID, there's 55,000 cases of coronavirus. We've already had 2,400 deaths, right? But the worst is that there's actually 3.1 million children under age of 5 that are at risk of malnutrition, meaning that they'll starve to death. And what's feeding this is that unfortunately, uh, a lot of the charities, even Muslim charities, are leaving Afghanistan. International NGOs are leaving Afghanistan. Muslim charities are leaving Afghanistan, and that's became very difficult to work in Afghanistan. That is why, from a humanitarian point of view, from that perspective, we have increased our work in Afghanistan. So we are working with various partners and governmental authorities to send food aid, medical. We have orphan programs there. We're building schools. We're digging wells. We're trying to do as much as we can. Winter clothing. So we have tried to ramp up our work in Afghanistan when a lot of the other charities are leaving. Um, Unfortunately, it's it doesn't look like it's going to improve. Inshallah, it will, but it's the reports that we're getting is they're saying that people are facing starvation. Mothers don't know how to feed their kids, and I've never really felt that within Afghanistan, but that's the things that are coming out. And what saddens me is that people are focused on sending clothing and things like that when all people need is food at the moment. That's the primary focus. Articles are about that. Charities are seeing that, and the reports we're getting are indicating that as well. One of the highlights of Muslim Aid USA is that we're helping to build the one of the first big women's hospitals in Kabul that deals with women that are victim of burn and also domestic violence. So, Alhamdulillah, that has been something that we're very proud of. It's in partnership with Bayat Foundation. So we're trying to do as much as we can there. Sorry, that was a very long statement, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize the need.
No, it's very important to highlight the issues because we're here in the United States of America living in the lap of luxury, not really necessarily understanding or knowing if we don't have a direct connection. You know, my family's been here since the 70s, even before that. So it's harder to have, if you don't have relatives back home and you don't have that personal connection, it's harder to really see. So thank you for providing that lens and that perspective. منصور جان میگن که وقتی که افغانستان رفتن به سری ولایت های دیگره که همیشه ندیده بود دیدن مثل بامیان شما گفتین و دیگهش کدام بود؟ بامیان
بامیان،
گفتین؟
جلال آباد،
جلال آباد.
وارش، همه جاها رفتیم که کار بود در افغانستان.
خب بسیار خوب دیگه و یک چیز بسیار جالب. This isn't the first time I've heard about this moms not knowing what to feed because I'm currently involved in a program with Afghan refugee moms and it's a course that I'm teaching about attachment and about childhood trauma. And one of the interesting things that came up is that, which I didn't even know was an issue, was that one of the moms said we simply just didn't know what to give, what to provide, what the child needed. They didn't have that education, that background, which is so incredibly important. بسیار چیز مهم که امیال یک برنامه دارم که جلیس است امروی مادرای افغان که یادشان میدیم که چی باید اولاد خود بتن که بخورن که مثلا نمو کنه و همچنان چی مفادات داره که چی رقم باید مناسبات داشته باشه امروی اولاد خود. اما منصور جان میگه که بچهش به خود دیده که تاپترین مشکلاتی که افغانا در افغانستان فعلا دارن لباس کار ندارن این چیزا مهم نیست. گشنگی است، مردم از گشنگی میمرن، زندگی خود از دست میدن برای از که نان پیدا نمیشه. اینمی تاپ ترین مشکلات از فعلا که اینا با چشم دیدن و مادر هستن نمیفهمن که سعی طفل خود چی بدن که او نمو کنه و او مریض نشه. در بسیاری ولایت هستن.
فرشته جان 3.1 میلیون 3.1 میلیون چوچه ها که در سن 5 تا پایان according to the UN میگن که malnourished هستن، meaning که نان صحیح ندارن و نمیخورن.
3 میلیون.
بله 3 میلیون 3.1 میلیون. میبخشن.
نه خدا ببخشه، بسیار یک نمره بلند است. 3 میلیون 1 لک نفر که بدون صحیح نان غذای خود پیدا کردن نمیتونن. شما فکر کنین، درک کنین، در قدر کشور خرد، کشور خرد که برابر سایز تکساس ماست، آنقدر نفر از گشنگی زندگی خود از دست میدن. دیگه بسیار چیزای مهم است که باید فکر کنیم و خدا کنه که دیگه دفعه پیش از اینکه کالای کنی خود رایی کنید. If you got nothing else from this, make sure that, and I'm actually, once we're done with this, I'm actually going to make a post. I decided right now that I'm going to make a social media post about used clothing and about these text messages that I receive and these emails that I receive about giving used clothing away internationally. So, Mansoor John, the last thing before we close out, I'm going to ask you is, how can we get involved? What's the best way that somebody like myself can get involved? چطور میتونیم که ما کمک کنیم؟ ما چی کنیم که امروز شما کمک کنیم؟
So, alhamdulillah, I think Farishta John, you've been a really big help. You worked with us with many campaigns, so it's very easy to find out some of the great work that you have done. But there's a lot of things people could do. For example, volunteering. We could always work volunteers. And it doesn't need to be financial all the time. Donations are always helpful, but people could volunteer their time. They could come up with a creative project. They could do a house party and talk about one project and kind of raise funds for that. Even like clothing, people that really, really want to give clothing, we could even set up something for them where there's a company that comes in, sets up bins. People could come drop off their used clothes. That charity weighs the clothes, and then they pay us. Not the charity, the business gives the clothes, they weigh the clothes, and then they give a check to the charity so that the money will be used for the program. So there's a lot of ways. You could organize your local feeding program, and we could sponsor you and support you. They could even share some of our posts and get the word out about the projects we're doing. So any way that in any capacity, there's not always a financial thing. And very importantly, they could make dua for our beneficiaries, for our donors, for our staff. So we will take anything in any way or shape that comes because we are grateful.
بسیار چیزای مهم. منصور جان شما گفتین که ما اینا رو کل زیر شنیدیم و درک کردیم، اینا رو میخوایم کمک کنیم. چی رقم کمک کنیم؟ اول از این خود میتونین وقت خود بدین، تایم خود بدین. یک چیزی بسیار پرارزش است که مثلا ضرور نیست که از نگاه پول شما کمک کنین. اگه پول ندارین نمیتونین که کمک کنین. وقت خود بدین. وقتتان از پولم که پر ارزش می باشه. وقت خود بدین. اگه یک منصور جان یک کمپین داره و کمک کار داره و خدمتشان باشین، بگین خیر است ما یک ساعت در هفته میتونم براتون امی پستایی که شما در سوشال میدیا میمونین امی‌ها را ما پست میکنم براتون در پیج خود یا در پیج‌های مختلف. دوم از این آل خو پارتی نمیشه که کووید است، اما میتونین که هاوس پارتی اپ جور کنین، دانلود کنین و یا زوم پارتی کنین و کلگی بیاید از زوم و میتونین که هر کدامتان در زوم جمع کنین مردم معلومات بتشانه و هر کس میتونه که چیزی که توان داره، اگه $10 بود، اگه $100 بود، اگه $1000 بود، هر چقدر که برابر توانش باشه بته پیسه یک جای کنین، باز میتونین به مسلم ایدرای کنین. و همچنان اگه کالای کهنه داریم، پس از سر سازم کالای کهنه آمدیم. اگه کالای کهنه داریم، بسیاری کمپنی هستن که او را وزن میکنن. بعد از این که او را وزن میکنن، میبینن که چقدر او وزنش هسته and میبینن که وزنش چند هسته. باز سر مثلا طور مثال 5 کیلو میشه کالا. بر از اونمو 5 کیلو اونمو کمپنی میگه این کالا را مرا بده، من لیلام میکنم، اما پیسیش ما میتم از بجایش. باز او پیسیش میتم از بجایش، و پیسه را میتونین که پس ده کمک غریبا بکنین. و مهمترین چیزه که شما میتونین کنین، the most important thing، دعاست. شما فکر میکنین که دعا یک چیز بسیار آسان است، اما پر ارزش ترین چیز است که یک انسان میتونه بکنه دعاست. 24 ساعت دعا کنین بر از اونها که غریب هستن، که غرب هستن، که ظلم است سرشان، که مشکلات دارن در زندگی خود. I think the most powerful thing that anybody can do for anybody, and when people ask me, hey, you're going through a hard time, if there's a time that I'm going through, what can I do for you? I always say make dua, because the power behind dua and the power behind asking Allah sincerely from the bottom of your heart, being sincere with a clean intention and asking Allah for what it is that you want, it's never failed. همیشه اگه نیت صاف داشته باشی، قلب صاف داشته باشی و الله سبحانه و تعالی بپرسی و برش عذر کنی، همیشه دعای شما را میشنوه و اینمی مهمترین چیز است. تشکر منصور جان، یک جهان سپاس از وقتتان، از تایمتان که امروز همراه ما دادن. وقت خدا بسیار وقتتان مهم است برای ما. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you again have any questions, comments, the number and the chat box is available for you. Thanks again for all of your hard work. We are incredibly proud of everything that you do at Muslim Aid USA. We support you and we will continue to be in touch and get you back on the show.
تشکر بسیار ازت فرستادم.
خواهش میکنم. بازم از طرفای از صدای حق تلویزیون تشکری میکنیم. یک جهان سپاس و در هر نقطه دنیا که هستین خوش و آرام باشین. خدا حافظ.